Matt has to break the ice. What was your first AIM password?
Your
first AIM name.
Yeah, my first AIM name was Baseball Star MT2. The 2 obviously for Derek Jeter.
Okay, like every 13-year-old boy. I know mine. Mine was Baby Girl with a U, 19.
Oh, no.
Welcome into the Call Up presented by Heineken. On today's episode, we have an incredibly real conversation with New England goalkeeper Matt Turner. And you may be noticing, for those of you watching, a little bit of a difference here today. Susanna Collins, rightfully so, deservingly so, on vacation. But we could not have filled her shoes better with this lady, Tiffany Blackmon, our first ever co-host here on the Call Up. Thanks, girl.
Thank you. Wow, first ever. I feel it's a pretty good honor right there. And I have some pretty big shoes to fill with Susanna being out on vacation, but I am so happy to be here. So thank you so much, Jillian.
Somewhere Susanna Collins is on a lake, on a unicorn float, just thinking about the call up. I know that she is. But Tiffany, let's get into a little bit with you. This is the first time that we've gotten to officially team up. I mean, I guess I've done some Instagram lives with you in the past, but you are an incredible addition to the MLS community, played defense at Georgia State, and, just casual former Weather Channel production. I love that you put that in here on your resume. Just kidding. This girl has covered, she's worked as a sports anchor in Louisiana, Texas, covered the Thunder, covered the Rockets, the Dynamo and the Dash. Then she moved on to just a casual little NFL network, even though she really wanted to put the Weather Channel in there. And then was a big part in launching Charlotte FC. So we're so excited to have you. This is going to be great. You have the most soccer pedigree and the most out of anyone who's ever hosted this show. So that's
gosh, you're making me feel like pretty good over here. I'm like, man, my resume doesn't look too shabby. So may have to go take a slice of humble pie after this. That was pretty lame. I'm gonna stop talking.
On this show, we have a little segment called Here for This. It's things you may or may not be into. And Tiffany, one thing I love about you is on your Instagram lives, whatever it is, you tell us how you feel. So you are going to be just fine for this segment, my friend. The first one being MLS's previous life. Alphonso Davies now just casually a champion of Europe with Bayern Munich. All those things are great. Winning Champions League, fine. Being a former Vancouver Whitecap, maybe. But he really lost it on the internet this week when he saw that he got a follow from Drake. And that was it. He lost his mind more than I saw him with the trophy after winning Champions League. So, one, I have to ask you, are you here for this? And two, I got to ask you, who have you ever met or gotten a follow by that you've just totally lost it?
Okay, one, I am here for this because, I mean, he just won, right? And there he is saying his day's made at the end of that Instagram clip that he posted as soon as he saw the follow. So, and it's Drake. So say what you want about Drake being on some bandwagons when it comes to sports teams. He's supporting his fellow Canadians. So I'm here for that. Secondly, yeah, I would probably go insane if Allen Iverson followed me. That's what, because I just grew up loving basketball. I love all sports, but he was my primary reason for loving the sport of basketball. So if Allen Iverson were to give me a follow, then that's who I would be losing my mind over.
And you've had a casual run-in with Allen Iverson in the past, which you're just conveniently leaving out.
Just a brief run-in. I was getting my braids done and, small little boutique. Everyone's got their little mask on, and all of a sudden, the girl says to me, her name is Tiff, shout out to her, hey, I got somebody coming in. You're going to have to get up real quick because he's going to swing by and get a touch up. And I'm like, yeah, no big deal. She's like, oh, yeah, it's Allen Iverson. And I was like, all right, cool. Just play it cool because I'm really good at doing that. No, I'm really not. But I did in this case. He came in. He was totally cool. And on the TV was like Queen of the South playing. I never watched that show before. Everyone's really big fans of it, including Al and I. And he, had some issues with the show. And The fact that the main character, faces all this adversity, somehow she always gets out of it. But he was so cool, so down to earth. And that was my one, like, I geeked out internally because I had to, still play it cool.
You are way cooler than me, my friend, which we already knew that. But as we were getting ready for the show, I came on all excited. And then pretty much everyone in our little background production was like, yeah, Jill, I've met him. Everyone's met him. This past week in Atlanta, after the players it took a lot of courage to do what they did last Wednesday night with the protests around that all got started by the Milwaukee Bucks, and then major props to the MLS teams who kind of carried that torch and kept the messaging going. And from a broadcaster's perspective, it was a night I'll never forget. It takes a lot, especially for MLS players. You kind of can't say it enough that these are not guys that are on multi-million-dollar contracts. These are not guys that maybe have the same job security as an NBA superstar. And it takes courage for everybody, but especially takes courage where maybe you don't know where your paycheck's coming from, after this season. So to see everyone kind of rally together in the world of sports after yet another shooting, this time of Jacob Blake, it was an upsetting, it was an inspiring, also an upsetting night. So our game gets postponed and I'm down. I am not feeling good. It's sad, what's going on in the world. And also from a personal standpoint, I'm thinking like, maybe this is just, it's too much this year. Maybe this is where the season ends. And yeah, we got one game in and that'll be it. So, but I'm feeling like I need to go eat something, which usually helps. And I walk into the bar and sitting down is Charles Barkley. And I am like, oh my God, I'm just sweating thinking about it right now because I was such a loser. I, for 20 years, have watched Charles Barkley on TNT and been obsessed. Great player. 11-time All-Star, Hall of Famer, but I am obsessed with the Charles Barkley of the NBA pre- and post-game shows and halftime. Everything. I send my family's videos of things that I think are so funny that he says, and they're like, yeah, Jill, okay, stop now. So I walk over to the table, and he says something like, we don't bite. And I'm like, I know that. Like, I can't believe this is happening. This has been such a horrible year that, like, I am standing next to the one person that I would love to sit and talk to right now. And it was him, and he was great, and he was exactly what you would expect. It felt like sitting at the set. And everyone says that about Chuck, that, he keeps it real. He says what's on his mind, and that. But to like really have it, and he's sitting there and he's got his mask on his lap. He's keeping his distance. So to kind of have like a socially distant 2020 mac and cheese and a margarita with Charles Barkley, like I can die happy now. So if Chuck ever got social media and I could get a follow, I don't even need the follow because I have now this night that I will just never forget. It was incredible. He hasn't been perfect, but I admire so much of like what Chuck brings to TV. I really do. So
that was what you see is what you get with him. And so you probably had the perfect Charles Barkley experience.
It was perfect. For those of you listening, Kellyn Acosta this week, he repped, you may have seen someone known as LeBron James repping this look. It's a suit jacket with shorts. I think these might be called Bermuda shorts. I'm not totally sure. But Kellyn Acosta, leave it to him. He loves fashion, really stepping up his game. We don't get to see this level of fashion all the time in MLS. Navy suit. He's got his mask on, of course. Some burgundy socks that I just think could have probably been a little higher. They kind of reminded me of like when my dad mows the lawn and they're just like a little high, but not high enough. But are you here for like a really bold MLS fashion statement from Kellyn Acosta, kind of pulling off the MLS LeBron James look, if I do say so myself?
Yes, I'm here for it. I will say that's a very accurate take on the outfit that he's wearing. Anytime you can make a statement, you should make a statement. And when you're going to play a game, you're going to play a match, you want to show up in style and you want to set the tone. So he's trying to set the tone for his day, for his work day. He's got the briefcase. He's ready to go. It's almost like, what's the cliche? Grabbing your lunch pail and your hard hat, but now make it fashion. And that's what he's done.
Something else, lastly, before we get to our incredible interview with Matt Turner of the New England Revolution, is we saw some really, really moving tributes all week after the unfortunate, yet again, more unfortunate news this week of losing Chadwick Boseman, who died at 43, the young age to colon cancer, an actor, an activist, all of the things, I mean, that you want in a good human. The movies he was a part of, Black Panther, Jackie Robinson, just incredible. And then to learn that he was dealing also with a long, horrible battle with cancer just speaks so much more to the type of guy that he was. But we saw some celebrations in MLS. We saw whenever they could, we saw the Wakanda celebration. And then we also saw the manager for FC Dallas, Luchi Gonzalez, paying tribute in his own way.
We did. And, he said he just felt it, that it was a gift. The shirt he was wearing said that this was a gift from his wife. And so his kids love the movie Black Panther. And that was one of his reasons for wanting to do it. And he felt that Chadwick Boseman was an incredible actor, which we all know that he was. And this was his way of getting to honor him by wearing that dashiki, for the game. And I thought it was super special and, a really classy move.
You go, Luchi Gonzalez. And you played soccer kind of alongside his brother, which is another incredible MLS angle.
Yeah, his brother Christian. We're still Instagram friends. But yeah, we both went to Georgia State. So he was on the men's team. I was obviously on the women's team. Couple really good house parties back in the day. I feel like he was always a mastermind behind the music.
Okay.
But yeah, anytime Christian, he makes a lot of posts about his brother. And so that's been really cool because I'm always like, oh yeah, there's that connection. And so he's so proud, which he should be, of what his brother's doing.
Now time for our AT&T 5G call to the field. Goalkeeper for the New England Revolution, the guy who's just been a human highlight reel lately, fresh off of back-to-back MLS Team of the Week appearances, Matt Turner. Woo!
How you doing?
Hey, talk about an intro, right?
Yeah, it's a nice intro.
Matt, New England, they're 6th in the East right now. You guys have had 2 home games, 1 away in DC. Since the MLS is back tournament, we see you are actually at the training grounds. How is life post-bubble? How are you settling into life post-bubble and being in stadia now and actually traveling and things like that?
Yeah, I think now I feel a lot better than I did when I first got back from the bubble. I don't know if it was just me, but I definitely talked to some of my other teammates. And when you first got back from the bubble, it was a little bit different, like you're back in society, you're seeing other people. And it was definitely a little bit challenging to readjust to. But we had a little bit of time to sort of get our feet under us. Bruce gave us some time away from the game. And then we got right back to work. And since the restart, it's been all right. Like the same day travel is pretty much all I did in college, so I'm a little bit more used to that. And yeah, it's just we've been leaving a lot of points on the table, and I think we're thinking, oh yeah, it's gonna be fine. But the more we say that and rationalize, the worse things have been getting for us. So we got to start picking up 3 points when we can.
Matt, I want to go back to it. You said you got some time to get your feet underneath you. This team did, and you in particular. I mean, the 3 clean sheets, that's really been a headliner for the Revolution. And we had Alexi Lawless say that you're making saves that you shouldn't be making. Are you surprising yourself, or is this something that you just envisioned, that you knew you were capable of this?
Alexi doesn't come down to our training sessions every day, so I'm sure he doesn't see a ton of the work that goes in. But listen, I've always been a good shot stopper ever since I started playing. My friends always told me, like, oh man, you could definitely play professional soccer. And I sort of like laughed it off, and I was focusing on playing baseball at the time. But over time, I started to sort of believe that myself. And that's always been an area of my game that I've been really strong in. And in saying that, there's a lot of other areas that I've been trying to improve on. Including my distribution and playing out of the backs, so that I can, not only succeed here, but succeed at higher levels as well.
So you just kind of led us into our next question. There's a theme with you, and we'll get to that in a moment. You were a baseball player, like you said, in high school, and you didn't play competitive soccer until you were 16. I feel kind of like maybe that's where my career started to end, around like 16, 17. So I'm a little jealous. Why soccer? Did you start off as a goalkeeper? And how did you decide, like, I like baseball, but you know what? Like, I think I'm going to become a professional soccer player, even though I'm in my junior year of high school. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah. So baseball is like the thing that I picked up a bat and started swinging it ever since I could walk, pretty much. And like there's, pictures and videos of me as a kid, and every time it's just me with a baseball hat on, probably a different team because it was a different player that I liked at the time, holding some mini baseball bat, swinging. And it was a huge part of my life and my upbringing. And it was when I was 16. It was 2010, and the World Cup was in South Africa, and it was the first time that I'd ever really watched soccer, or watched it at that level, or seen any World Cup games. And obviously, the U.S. had a pretty good World Cup that year, and it was just so fun to root for them, and it was so fun to watch this game and see how much passion was in it. I mean, not only did I play baseball, but I also played football and basketball, so I was really into all different types of sports. Every time I was home, I had Sports Center on. I was watching the highlights, this and that. And there never really was much soccer, so I didn't really follow it at all. But then after watching a ton of, that World Cup in 2010, I really fell in love with the sport because there was just nothing else like it in the world. And I'd seen tons of sports, and I decided that I sort of was going to give it a go because both my older sisters played and they were really good players. And all when I was younger, my parents would have to drag me to their practices, and then they'd throw me in goal because all the girls wanted to shoot. So then I was like trying really hard while I was in goal because I wanted to impress all of them, And so then when I put the gloves on, it sort of just kind of came naturally to me.
So you went for goalkeeper first when you made the decision, I want to be a soccer player.
No. Of course, I tried to play in the field first.
Like, I want to be a striker.
Nobody wants to be a goalkeeper, but I was too far behind. Technically, tactically. I just didn't understand the game like the other kids that have been playing for all those years did. So the way for me to make the team was to hop in goal and put the gloves on. So from there, it just all felt really natural to me, and I really enjoyed it.
But to feel like you were just too far behind technically, I mean, you're able to obviously have the skills to play keeper. You exhibited that at an early age, but there is that theme going back to it of just you getting settled in some place and then kind of emerging and establishing yourself as a starter. We saw it with you, at Fairfield University, not becoming a starter till your junior year. Then you're not invited to the super draft or the combine, and then we're looking at your third season with the Revolution, and you just emerged. Is there something to be said about getting someplace, settling in, and then being able to build off of that?
That's a really good point, because not a lot of people ask me about that because they just look at what you produce and they say, oh, okay, that might have been just like an overnight thing. But I definitely learned a lot of lessons, being a number 3, being a number 2, being the guy that's not playing, and also being the guy that's playing. I've learned a ton of lessons. And I think for me, there's definitely something to be said for having that ability to settle in and sort of watch from behind and learn. And that's something that, because I was so late to the game, I've always had to pride myself on in a way. It's just being a sponge, going out every day in training and learning. I don't have an ego about my background, so I just come out every single day, and if somebody has advice to offer me, I take that advice. I see if it works for me. If it works for me, great. If it doesn't work for me, okay, maybe that's not for me. I can find something else. And I'm always trying to learn and grow as a goalkeeper. So I love the fact that that's my story, because it helps me every day to come out to training and not take things for granted, and to continue to learn and grow.
Perspective, humility, all those things, they come in handy from time to time.
Well, it's hard to not have that when you have 2 older sisters who just beat up on you for years and years and years. They were both
we
good
love
athletes.
Badass ladies.
See, yeah. I have a younger brother, and I feel like we prepared him for life, me and my older sister. So it works out.
Right. Absolutely.
Something else, you mentioned your background, Matt. Something else about your background is, once you start playing good, these crazy people on the internet love to start rumors. I know you want to clear the air on a little something. You have a Lithuanian passport that obviously sets you up to be able to go play more easily, outside of Major League Soccer and other American leagues. So can you just tell us the story behind that? New England PR was very big on me. Like, Jildy, he didn't get the Lithuanian passport this week, okay?
Yeah.
He's at
No,
it.
absolutely. I think that story is a good one as well, because it was actually a 3-year process. It was something. My grandfather was getting a little bit older. He's passed away now, but it was time for him he couldn't really live on his own anymore. So my dad and I were working on cleaning out his old house and getting ready for it to be sold. And as we're looking through, I think I was 20, or I was 20, I was 21, or no, I was 20. I was going to turn 21. And as we're cleaning things out, I stumbled upon these papers that were my great grandmother's immigration papers from leaving Lithuania during the war. My dad's side of the family is Jewish, and my mom's side of the family is Catholic. So that side of the family obviously left due to religious persecution, and because of that, I was able to go back in my heritage 2 generations, usually, or 3 generations rather, because it was my great grandma. So I was allowed to go 3 generations because she left Lithuania between those years. And it's only an avenue I really explored because of not getting, picked for the combine or picked in the draft. I wanted to play in MLS. I wanted to be like in the United States, and but when that didn't feel like it was going to become a reality for me, even though I thought that I had a pretty successful, semi-successful, I didn't really win anything, but statistically it was a pretty good collegiate career. I didn't think I got a fair look out of college, but that's just another thing that I didn't take personally. It was just something that I took as, okay, that's that. How else can I, knock on a door? Because I believed in my own ability. It was just about it always took time for me to work into any team that I played for. And once they saw me play, typically like coaches seemed to really like me. So I thought that I would explore the avenue of getting the passport, and that way, once I graduated college in May of 2016, I would have the ability to go over to Europe. Luckily, 2 things. It was a 3-year process for me to get the passport. So taking 3 years off from professional soccer probably wouldn't have worked. And the second thing, obviously, a week into my second semester senior year, I got a call from Remy Roy, one of the scouts here at the Revs. So he was the goalkeeper coach at the time, and they invited me to preseason.
Is it kind of a way of, I guess, separating maybe the soccer aspect, having that passport, talking about your heritage and the 3-year process? Is it a way for you just to honor your family?
100%. I always grew up in North Jersey. Everyone's Italian and Catholic. And I'm so serious. Everyone's Italian Catholic. And I was a little bit different. I didn't really know a lot about my heritage. I knew that my dad was some sort of European. My mom, her last name was Klein. Maybe some sort of German, but we didn't really know a ton about our family history. So it was definitely a really nice thing for my dad and I to do together. He also has his passport now. We got to look into our family history and all that and learn a ton. And it was super interesting to learn about the ways that my great grandmother made it to America safely and escaped all of that. So it was definitely a really great experience for me and my family. And yeah, you're right. It definitely feels good to have a little bit more of an identity in that sense of who I am.
Let me ask you this. So you haven't been to Lithuania yet, but do you have aspirations to play in Europe?
I have not been to Lithuania yet. That's definitely on the bucket list, though, because I definitely have to explore a little bit more of my heritage. Do I have aspirations to play in Europe? Absolutely. Do I feel like I have a lot to still prove here in MLS? Also, absolutely. I want to win things here. want to do things for the fans that deserve so much. They've been here since the beginning of Major League Soccer. And I feel like there's still a lot that I want to do for those fans, but if the opportunity came up, it'd be hard to say no. I'm the type of person that relishes challenges, and I would really love to challenge myself at the highest level possible. Also, the higher levels you play at, the better looks you'll get with the national team. And part of my goals is to finally earn my first cap for the USA team.
And speaking of that, well, you've had 2 call-ups for the national team, yet to take the field. Have you talked to coach yet? And, just wondering, about the MLS back tournament as well, if you had spoken to him.
Greg Berhalter was running around that tournament. So
he was another Jersey guy, might I add. Yeah, no, definitely had some conversations here and there. Nothing super fruitful in terms of like they're not telling anybody, oh yeah, you're getting called in, you're going to play here, this and that. But it's nice to hear from them from time to time, to know that you're on their radar still. And that's the culture that he's building over there with the national team is he's building this family, like brotherhood style culture where they're checking in on everybody. They're saying happy birthday to you when it's your birthday. And it's like little things like that make you feel appreciated. So I know that their eyes are on me every single week, every time I step out onto the field, and quite literally in MLS's back when I didn't even realize that they were there, but I ran over to pick up a ball for a goal kick, and I couldn't figure out the ball mechanism, and I was trying to pull it out, and I noticed that the coaching staff was right back there, and I started sweating. Even if that was possible, I started sweating even more while I was in Orlando. So, no, it's been nice having them there and not feeling like there's some sort of mythical thing. They're concrete. They're there, and the expectation of you as a player is pretty clear.
You hear that, national team fans? The culture. It's improving at the U.S. men's national team. We love to hear that. Yeah, it was a daunting sight even through the TV to see Greg Berhalter sitting in his director's chair behind the boards, just so casually watching everybody. Let's talk about another coach, Bruce Arena. Last year, he comes into New England, and in Bruce style, he says, yeah, when I took this team over, they had a 99% chance of not making the playoffs. You guys had 2 wins when he came in May. And then all of a sudden, New England gets going. You guys are you find yourselves as playoff contenders. I know a lot of guys who have played with Bruce Arena. What's your take on Bruce and his coaching style?
Yeah, it's something that I think it was refreshing for a lot of the guys. At the time, it was what we needed. He didn't come in and change too much. He just gave guys a little bit more freedom. And I think some guys really responded well to that. And I think overall, Bruce is one of his, he's got a lot of strengths, but one of them is the way he communicates with players. The expectation of what you do every single day in training and in games is very, very clear of what the coaching staff wants from you. And I think that's very useful as a player. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched a ton of Revs games this year, but I've been really impressed with how Kellyn's been playing, Kellyn Rowe, and it's just his game has been simplified. He knows he's going to run around the field a lot, make simple passes, and break up plays. And he doesn't try to do too much, and he doesn't try to do too little. And I think he's another guy that you've just seen this year in particular. He's come in and done a really, really good job. So I think that's one of Bruce's strengths. And obviously the words that he says, they pack a little bit of a punch, because he's been a very successful coach, not only for the national team, but also obviously he's won 5 MLS Cups. So he's got a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience that we can draw from and try to learn like a sponge as much as we can.
You gave us some great insight into Coach Arena, but tell us something that we don't know about him. You're around him. Give us something good.
Man, you put me on the spot there, but no, I mean, he's the first one to crack a joke. He's the first one to lighten the mood, but at the same time, he also knows when to set the tone in terms of seriousness as well. So if you've ever, I don't know how often you guys have interacted or met him, the persona that he sort of puts out.
He's pretty scary. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a scary. Like he can be, but I think that's good. You got to have that balance. But in reality, the guy is just so lighthearted, so genuinely nice, and he's the person that in 5 years, 10 years, you want to go grab a drink with.
Are you giving us that answer because you're scared?
No.
Is Bruce standing right there?
I can't see right into his office right now.
No, absolutely. And like I said, my coworker, Atlanta United, is Dan Gargan, who won an MLS Cup with Bruce Arena in 2014. So you hear like every guy is an I love Bruce. And yeah, you have to have that persona. I can tell you from having to do some post-game or sideline interviews with him, you're like, please, Bruce, just answer this question. I know it's stupid, but please answer it anyway. And he does, kind of like a Bill Belichick style, I guess you could say at times.
England, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Revolution. We started off this interview, and you said, we've got to do better. Where do you see the New England Revolution finishing off in 2020? And you can't get this answer wrong because there's nothing we can get right about 2020. But where do you see this team finishing in 2020?
Yeah, mid to high in the East. I think we're so close every game to picking up an extra 2 points, and we haven't won a single game at home yet this year. We've tied every single one. So if we start taking care of business at home and mix in a few good results on the road, there's no reason why we can't be in that upper echelon in the Eastern Conference. And but it's a dogfight. It's a dogfight. Every time we step out onto the field, we gotta start games better than we have been recently. And there's so many things. Obviously, you could look into little areas, but at the end of the day, we need to go out there and compete every single time we step on the field and take a little pride in the results that we have. Don't be happy or satisfied with a draw unless that's what if we're down 2-0 and come back and draw. We should be taking care of Red Bull at home. We should be taking care of Philly at home, and those are things that. The culture is sort of shifting in that way around here where those results aren't being accepted as well.
All right, we have a quick game for you before we let you go, but for no particular reason, I just have to ask you, if you were going to hang out with one person of these two, who would it be? Allen Iverson or Charles Barkley?
Allen Iverson. I was a huge AI fan when I was a kid.
All right. Just curious. No reason why. All right. We're going to play a little Revs rapid fire with you, Matt Turner. Are you ready? The first name that comes to mind, we will not get you in trouble. We swear. In the New England Revolution locker room, who is the biggest diva?
Gustavo Bo.
Okay. This is where I go, right? All right.
Yeah.
Troublemaker. Who's the biggest troublemaker?
This is a double-edged sword, but troublemaker, probably Justin Rennicks.
Why?
He likes to push people's buttons. It's hilarious. He doesn't push mine, so I think it's hilarious.
Who makes the locker room playlist?
Game days, usually me. Other times, probably Farrell.
Who's the big brother?
Teal Bunbury.
Aww. Who's the little brother?
Matt Turner. No, I'm kidding. Henry Kessler.
Who would plan the MLS Cup after party?
Matt Turner, Kellyn Rowe.
Okay, and finally, because I got to do this for my girl, Susanna Collins, who spends the most time on their hair?
Who spends the most time on their hair? Isaac Anking. He's one of our homegrown kids. And there's also one more thing I need to say.
Yes,
I did sort of flip the script here, but Charlie texted me last year and said that people in the MLS office were asking if I wear eyeliner while I play. And the answer to that is
was
no.
not me. And
I don't know who it was. I just want to say that the answer to that is no. I was born and blessed with these lashes.
Yes.
He's born with it.
And just like Heineken 00's on tap, we've got stuff on tap too, Miss Tiffany. For this first phase of post-bubble life, we've got some games coming up for Atlanta United on Fox Sports South, and obviously just a ton of games across Major League Soccer that we are so excited for over the next 2 weeks before we get news of hopefully another wave of games, perhaps. Tiff, what do you have going on?
Man, I guess I've got my fake fitness influencer life.
Yes.
Can I plug my Instagram here at Tiff Blackmon, MON? And I also do a lot of tricks with my dog, because what else are you going to do when you're working from home and then you have a break? I teach him different tricks. So
you and I just want to point out, got through an entire episode without a cat or dog cameo. So kind of upset about it, kind of here for it.
I can call him over. I don't know if he'll get up. Sometimes he likes to ignore me.
Well, Tiffany Blackmon, you are an absolute star. This was a long time coming. I am so excited that we got to hang out. Susanna Collins will be back next week, so we look forward to that. But Tiffany, thanks for hanging out on the call up. We appreciate you. We really do.
Thank you for having me. And I'm so glad to be here to get to hang out with you. And I'll be looking for Susanna next week. I hope she enjoyed her break.
I'm sure she did. Yes. Cheers. We'll cheers for her.
Yeah.